I'm going to introduce myself before I introduce our speaker today. I'm Charles Ebialfrey. I am the Research and Evaluation Manager for Dana. And a little bit about Dana. We support an alliance of 450 nonprofits, foundations, and business partners in Delaware. Our mission is to strengthen, enhance, and advance nonprofits in the state of Delaware. We do this by advocating on behalf of the nonprofit sector, offering workshops, mentorships, consulting engagements to assist nonprofits in developing their capacity, as well as networking, excuse me, and other programming to foster collaboration between nonprofits. And we provide information and resources to help nonprofits in a variety of areas. Our consultants provide expertise to nonprofits in the following areas: engaging and building nonprofit boards, developing sustainable organizations, creating strategic plans, and leadership development. In addition, Dana is certified by the Standards for Excellence Institute. The Standards for Excellence Institute is a national institute established to promote the highest standards of ethics, effectiveness, and accountability in nonprofit governance, management, and operations, and to help all nonprofit organizations meet these high benchmarks. We do provide consulting and training for organizations that are interested in becoming certified through the Standards of Excellence. For more information about that program and all the programs and services we provide, you can visit our website, which is delawarenonprofit.org. And one last thing I did want to mention, today's session is being recorded. Now I am happy to introduce Julia Ward, who is going to speak about the GrantStation program. So Julia, it's all yours.
Awesome, thank you. Let me go ahead and share my screen just so we'll have it. Do you see my PowerPoint, Abby?
Yes.
Okay, great. Well, thank you all for having me today. I'm just so pleased to be presenting here for Dana. My name is Julia Ward. I work for GrantStation. I'm the administrative and program specialist there. I'm coming to you today from Richmond, Virginia. But like I was telling Abby earlier in the call, our team is located kind of all over the U.S. We've got several folks on the East Coast, like Pennsylvania, one other in Roanoke, Virginia, and but some people in like Minnesota and Alaska, and Spain and Norway as well. We've got a couple of expats out there. But GrantStation was actually started in rural Alaska in a tiny cabin that had no indoor plumbing, but it did have the internet. So, but it started in 1999 and we've been innovating ever since. And yeah, I'm just glad to show you the website and everything that it's, all the different resources that it has today, because there is a lot to know, and it's always changing. So I'm glad that you're joining us today. Let me just navigate to the website here. Okay. So some of you joining us today may or may not be super familiar with GrantStation, but we really define it as more than a website, but as a set of tools and resources that can help organizations identify and secure grant dollars. And also we like to provide tutorials and keep you up to date on the latest philanthropic trends. So the first thing that I want to just call your attention to on the homepage is up here. These are some drop downs. These are what we call our key features. And today we'll be talking about the Find Grant Makers section, Build Strategy, Write Proposals, and the public resources as well. And we'll be covering some best practice tips for research in the databases, and also just showing you some of the different resources we have as well. So the first thing that I'd like to do is kind of show you what a grant maker profile looks like and what goes into it. One of the individual opportunities that you'll find inside the database. But before jumping into the databases, let's scroll down almost to the bottom of the homepage. where we have our funding alerts. So we have a national funding alert, local funding alerts, Canadian and regional, international funding alerts. These change every week, and this is just kind of an example of us trying to sprinkle different opportunities throughout the website to get more of them in front of people's eyeballs. There's a couple other places too, like our newsletters that we send out once a week, where we try to just put more and more opportunities to the forefront, so that you won't just kind of be bogged down with trying to find them yourself and have the onus on you to find them in the databases. So let's just open one of these up. This is this is going to be the format for all of the records that we will find inside the database. On the left-hand side, we'll find a narrative that explains all about the grant, any application procedures. And then on the right-hand side, we'll see a geographic scope, their contact information. You can visit their website here with this button. And any application deadlines that there are. And sorry, I hear one person, just a little background noise, if you wouldn't mind muting yourself. Actually, I can mute everyone. Sweet. Hey, I have the power. Okay. All right. So I wanted to mention too that if this grant maker had was a foundation, you'd be able to see this EIN number here, as well as a button that would take you straight to their 990 page on the IRS website. And lastly, I just want to point out that we do want to be transparent and display the timestamps for when each of these records are updated, which is fairly frequently, at least once a year, if not more, depending on how often the funding cycle is. Of course, these ones that we're highlighting on the homepage are going to be updated really recently because we want to send you the new and fresh ones. There's a couple of actions you can do here on the right-hand side. You can save this. And just to give you an example, when I save it, it says this has been saved to your dashboard. So I'll talk about the dashboard in a little bit, but suffice to say that you can save individual opportunities in a centralized place, so you don't have to try to go track them down later. You can also mark this as NA. So let's imagine that we found this in a search inside our databases, and if you've got like 10 results and you know that this particular one is just not going to be relevant, you can mark it as NA if you just don't want to see it. And then you can also print and email the profiles. Another neat tool on the profile itself is this member insights. When you click on this button, a little pop-up appears. What it is an anonymous survey. And this is a tool that is really something that can help the community set expectations about what they hope, or set expectations about the application procedure. So if you have completed an application for Voya Unsung Heroes in the past 3 years, we'd really like to hear about your experience, whether you won that grant or not, and just so that we can display and compare with others what that experience was like, so that when others are considering applying there, they can say like, oh wow, everyone said that this application took 41 to 80 hours. I better take that into consideration, something like that. This particular one hasn't had anyone submit it yet. Otherwise, there would be like a button here at the top that says that it's been submitted. Oh, I used to have one saved, but I don't have it saved anymore. But anyway, there would be a button that says like, see what others say. But that's kind of the gist of the grant maker profiles. And before I move away from that, I just like to point out that one of the things that makes GrantStation unique is that all of these profiles are going to be what we call in the game, and that means that they are actively accepting letters of inquiry. Their funding cycle is open, so that when you are doing your research, you're not having to add that extra step of finding out like, oh, when can I actually apply for this? You can apply to any of them that you find in the database. And when their funding cycle ends, then it'll be taken off of the database. And if it happens to be one that you saved, then you will receive an email alert saying, hey, this opportunity that you saved, they're going to be closing their funding cycle. And then whenever it goes back online, when their funding cycle is back up, then you get another email saying, hey, this one that you saved is back online now. So let's go back to the home page. So the next, does anyone have any questions before I move on? Because the next thing I want to do is talk about some research and go into go into some examples here in the database. We have a small enough, well, yeah, so please use the chat if you do have any questions. I'm not seeing any at the moment, but I'll stop and answer if anyone does have questions. But so the first step when I'm thinking about jumping into the databases is, rather than going straight in, every time I always start in this page called search terms. And this is not a database, this is just kind of a launch pad. And what it really is just a very, very long page of keywords. But it is a really good way of helping yourself get an idea of what's to be found in the databases and what you can search for. A lot of these terms are going to be the same keywords that the grant makers are using in their grant applications. And it's a good idea to get your terminology right. Of course, you all are the masters of your own wheelhouse, but just to give an example, like I was doing some research on animal therapy. You know, sometimes people can take care of horses or ride with horses, and that provides some mental health therapy for them. So I was actually looking at the term horse and not getting anything. And I thought, well, horse therapy must just be too narrow of a topic. But as I kept going, I realized that the correct term was equine, but equine therapy. But you know, things like that are synonyms that you'll want to be aware of as you're going. So my project today, I'm just going to say, I noticed that Peter there is part of the ballet theater, right? Peter, okay, great. So let's take your example of your organization, and I'm just going to type in ballet, and I'll see. So that's not a so that particular word was too narrow, but so I do see under arts, culture, and humanities that there's a lot here. So I'm going to look under arts, and I find dance, educational programs there, humanities, blah, 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 music, opera, performing arts, even better, theater as well, visual arts. And then if I want to search for more categories rather than scrolling and scrolling, I can click here. So there's arts, culture, and humanities. There is also education. If maybe your theater has any educational components, then that might be another aspect that you are interested in searching for too. But so as I'm looking in, so now I'm pretty sure that this is the main category that I'm going to be taking with me into the databases. I'm just going to keep in mind some of the specific subcategories that are there. So let's take that information in mind and jump into the databases. So first thing I'd like to point out, and this database is the state agency database. It's not quite as dynamic as the next two that I'll show you, but What it really is a centralized list of state agencies that are all in one place. So when you open one of these, let's see here. Okay, well, let's just open one. It will take you outside of the GrantStation website into the specific state agency that deals with grants. And we recently added a legend here at the top to provide the different types of support. So like this one, they give grants and loans. But again, it's not like we can add keywords into this type of database. So let's move on to federal. The first thing that I'll do, well, so this whole text is just explaining how to use this database, but really what you do is add criteria here on the right-hand side. So I'm going to say that I'm a nonprofit, and then that alone, that one piece of criteria has given me about 1,300 results. And then I'm going to say that my area of interest is in the arts, and that gives me 22 results. And I can keep going down if I want to. If I want to provide a specific number that I have here, I can, or I can add keywords as well. I don't know if dance is going to be too, actually there's 3, okay. I was gonna say I didn't know if dance would be too specific for the federal side, but we like to say that a good number of results to get in a session of research is like 10 to 15. So I might just take my keyword out. So you can click on the minus sign by doing that, and that will get you back to your other results. And as you go through, you can click inside the different opportunities and read through them. You can save them as you go if you want. You can also save the search. So if you end up adding like 5 or 6 pieces of criteria here, then you'll want to save it so you don't have to remember all the different how you got to where you got. So I'm going to say arts federal and just save that criteria. And it says my search was saved into my dashboard. So now I want to say that the reason that we did the federal dashboard, or not dashboard, database first is there is a reason. So the charitable side tends to have more opportunities and easier opportunities, but it's a good practice to have an idea of what's available on the federal side, so that when you do apply to a charitable organization, you can tell them that you've done your research, and you can tell them that you've explored all the avenues on the federal side, and that now it's up to the charitable side to help you. And they do find that convincing, that to know that you've done research about that. So moving on to the charitable side, it's similar in the way that you can change this criteria. But there's a little bit more things you can add. So like this one, you can actually indicate the state where you are. So let's just choose Delaware as our state. And you'll notice that my list of states has disappeared. That's because this is actually a button. So you can click on that. You can add more than one state if you want to. And so there's 70 in Delaware. I also want to add national grant makers who give everywhere. So there's going to be grant makers that only give in Delaware, and then grant makers that give all over the US. So that really adds us back to 13, almost 1,400 results. So you'll see here on like the geographic scope, some of these say all of the USA and others indicate specific states. So now that we've got our big pool, let's start narrowing it down. So I'm going to choose arts, culture, and humanities. And if any of these are something you're not sure what exactly it entails, you can hover over the I button and it will explain what that includes. So I'm going to say dance. That gives me 28 results. That's a good, let's continue though. So performing arts, maybe that actually narrowed it down to 19. So you can narrow it down by what you're doing, but you can also narrow it down in other ways and get just as good results that are different. So I'm going to go ahead and save this so that when we change it, we'll still have it. So I'll say, again, save it criteria. So instead of, I'm going to take out dance and just leave performing arts. It gives us some more wiggle room here. Let's scroll down past our areas of interest and reach our target populations. Like say that you have a specific program that is meant for like children and youth. If you have a program specifically to educate and bring in children and youth, then that is going to be one way to change your results, but still have relevant results that are just different. I like to think of this search idea as kind of looking at a Rubik's Cube and looking at all of the different faces and planes on it. And so the first search that we did was like, what do you do? And the second one could be, who do you serve? And another angle could be types of support. If you know what this grant would be used for, you could indicate that with capacity building, with say that it's for equipment, general operating support. You'll notice too, some of these are grayed out right now, and that's because out of the 17 results that we have right now, those 17 don't mention being available for like emergency funds, for example. If we made the pool bigger, then some of these would become available again. Another way of narrowing down your search is by indicating the type of grant maker. So if you know that you want it to come from like a community foundation or a corporate giving program, you can indicate that here as well. Lastly, there's the location of the grant maker, and you can also search for a specific grant maker if you know their name or their EIN number of their foundation. So that's a really good place to stop and imagine that your afternoon's worth of research is kind of complete, and that you have the capability to peruse from there. I want to do one more example. Oh, that's my cat. Sorry, he tends to join me for these things. So I want to do one more example just to get you all comfortable with the process. So let's go back into our search terms. So say that my project is about building a trail in a greenway, and say that I'm going to get the children and youth involved in the community to help with building the trail. And that's going to be my angle here. So the first thing that I'll search, maybe I'll do a keyword for trail and see what comes up. So I've got environment and animals, and trail is my subtopic. I actually have a specific subtopic for trails and greenway development. So as I'm thinking about that, I'm writing down keywords like greenway and walking trails, bicycle trails. But I wonder too if there's more that might help me under environment and animals aside from just trails. So I'm going to clear this and look at the whole category of environment and hit apply. So there's actually a lot more than just trails. So there are forest issues is one of my subcategories. Green space and greenways is one of those. So I could possibly use several of these. So I'll keep that in mind as I go into the databases. And right now I'm just going to skip the federal side for the sake of time. But jumping into charitable, let's go to Delaware, choose national, and why not choose, oops, I unchecked it. And global too. You can choose, for instance, this one, 11th Hour Racing, they will give anywhere, I guess. And then this 1 out of 52 project will give just in the US. One thing I didn't say before is that keep an eye on this geographic focus. Sometimes there will be an emphasis in the geographic focus column, and it might even get as granular as a specific county or a city where you are. So it's just a good idea to have that information, because you have a leg up. Say like they say that they give in Delaware, but they have an emphasis in a certain county, then you would have a leg up being in that county. So
Julia, I'm sorry, this is Zebby. Can I interrupt you real quickly?
Yes.
Somebody has a question in
okay.
the chat. They're asking, can GrantStation help us track grants, financials, progress, deliverables, etc. once a grant is awarded?
I don't think so. I'm trying to, I will show you the dashboard in a little bit. And there are some notes areas where you could keep track of some of that, but a lot of that would be kind of manual for you. So we have another partner called Grant Hub by Foundant, and they might be, their tools might help with keeping track of that type of thing a little bit more. We really think of ourselves as helping people learn how to get grants and be able to find those grants. But I will show you the dashboard in a little bit, because it does have some tools for keeping track of your current opportunities as you're applying and as you're moving through that process. So I hope that answers your question. So let's go to our areas of interest. Environment and animals was one of our main categories, and trails. Okay, so that gives us 13 results, which is a good number to just kind of call it and be able to look through. You'd think that like having 50 results would be better because that's more, but to really be able to eyeball it, you'll want to just break these up into very small, specific, narrow searches. So let's say that maybe I want to take out trails to keep my options open here. but I'll just click the environment and animals in general. So I still keep it pretty open there with 372 results. And then I'll scroll down to my target population and indicate children and youth as my target population, because in my project I'm having this be a community activity with people helping with the trail. So that's down to 105. And then of course we can indicate whether it's for capacity building or whatever it is and get down to 15. But another way to really think about this is to eliminate take a look at some of the other areas of interest and think about what impact you're intending to have. So with this trails project, putting a trail out there is going to encourage the community to get outside more, maybe exercise more. So I'm going to see health and wellness, what kind of might be available there. And looking under health and wellness, I'm seeing there's a healthy lifestyles subcategory that could be also a really helpful and totally different angle to take there. So really thinking about not only what you're doing, but the impact that you intend to have. Okay, so now is a good time. I think since I've gone through some of the processes a couple of times, now is a good time to go onto the dashboard and I can show you what all you can do with these results now that you've saved them. So you can go to the dashboard by clicking up here next to your name. And today we'll really go through it from left to right through this ribbon. So let's start with projects. And the first thing we'll do is we'll add a new project, and we'll call it for our original ballet project. And then these areas underneath this description, statement of need, they're really just text boxes, but it's providing you a space to start thinking about these components that are going to be in your grant anyway. Each of these is going to be one of those components inside. So this is an area where you can start to brainstorm on those. And I'm not going to add anything else really. I could add areas of interest that I know have worked for me, but I'm just going to really give this project a name and save it so that as I move down this ribbon, I can assign different opportunities to my project. So for instance, my saved criteria, the best way to find saved criteria that you're working on currently is to click on the header. So I'm going to click on the date created, and that will show me the ones that I saved today. So for instance, if I click inside one of these, it'll take me right into the database. And it's a good idea to keep checking these searches because the databases are very dynamic, and our research team may add new ones before, maybe there's 19 results today and there might be 20 results tomorrow. So if you found something that does work for you, definitely do check it fairly often. So within these specific searches, you'll want to save individual opportunities, and that will take you, those will go into this Saved Grant Makers tab right next door. Okay, and these are going to be specific grant makers that we've saved from that search. So you'll notice that some of these are a little less populated than the others, and that's because we need to edit it and start to populate it ourselves. So let's assign this one to the project and give it a priority. And you can also write notes. Oops. Okay, save. And I want to find another one to also edit and add to my project here, just so we have a couple. So you'll see that out of my saved grant makers, I have a lot, probably more than I can take in all at once. So I'm going to filter these by my project. And when I hit apply, I can see that these are the two ones that I just saved just now. And we have a couple more actions here on the left side. You can always unsave them to declutter, archive. Alerts is something you can turn, you're opted in to email alerts for each of these. Like if something changes in the profile, like something important like the application deadline, then we'll email you about it since you saved it, indicating that you wanted to know about that particular opportunity. I will say you might have seen how many I have saved, and I do not get emails very often, maybe like one every 2 weeks for the entire for all of them. So it's pretty rare to get an email alert about that, but you can always turn them off individually. And lastly, you can add these to the plan is the next and last piece of the dashboard that we'll talk about today. So this plan area is really the final destination where you'll want to be putting your current opportunities that you're working on in here, so that you'll be able to see at a glance what you are actively working on. So again, you can filter it by the project, and you'll notice that a lot of these are not as populated as some of the other ones before I filtered it. That's because we need to edit it. So we already assigned it to a project and gave it a priority, but here's a place where you can change the status. So you can, this is something you'll have to manually do, but it can be helpful, especially if you're collaborating with a team, or if you have quite a few rows, to be able to see what's the status of each different opportunity. Like some of them may be only contacted, others have the full application in progress. Amount requested. So these will be grayed out because they're being pulled in from the database. But these dates are whatever you decide for them to be. Say you want to submit it in, I don't know, in April, and the expected decision. Okay, and you also have your notes area here as well. So a couple of actions that you can do here. You can export to a CSV that'll open up into an Excel file for you if you want to share this with a team that you're collaborating with, or see it for yourself in Excel. You can, you see these little plus signs under each of the dates? This is a button that will let you add that date as an appointment to a Google Calendar. You can also send yourself a reminder here, and this is you can send yourself an email from GrantStation on a specific date, and the notes is what's going to be in the email body to yourself. So for instance, like say you don't use Google Calendar, you can use the reminder option to send yourself an email on a specific day to remind yourself about dates that are important to you. And you can't schedule multiple emails ahead of time, but you can send as many as you want to. So for instance, I would have to wait past say that like I want this one to go out tomorrow. I'd have to wait until the email sent itself, and then I could come back in and add another one if I want to continue to use that. But that pretty much covers the plan. And that's going to be I know we covered a lot inside this dashboard, but really from projects through the plan, you're really trying to get to this place in the plan where you can see everything all laid out in front of you and be able to eyeball your current opportunities. Does anyone have any questions now about how to use the dashboard or the research? Someone asked if he'll be posting the recording.
Yes, it will be available after we're done with this recording.
Great. Another place where you can watch some more videos about GrantStation, up here in the About dropdown, we have some how-to videos here. So that's a good spot. Let's see, I have to hop off. Okay, good. Thank you for joining us. And then, okay, great. So that's really about it for the dashboard itself, but I still have a lot to share with you about how to learn more about grant writing itself. We have a lot of tools to help. Under our public resources, I mentioned earlier, we have newsletters that have different opportunities that come out every week, so definitely sign up for that if you haven't. Pathfinder is a really neat tool that you can tailor your own education recommendations. When you click on this Find Your Path tool, it'll ask you, like, what is your role, what is your experience level and topic of interest? And then it will generate content based on what you indicated. So I love that about being able to tailor the information that you want to absorb. We have a couple of reports in GrantStation that also kind of provide some tailored experiences. For instance, on public resources, you'll see here there's the state of grant seeking, and then underneath it there's the benchmarker tool. And the benchmarker is a brand new tool for us, pretty much brand new since like the end of last year. The state of grant seeking is a very large annual report that we've been putting out once a year that this team of mine works on. And it's basically an annual report for all grant seekers that participate in our grant seeking survey. And so, for instance, like here, you can read about the previous year's report. So right now, we're asking for folks to participate so that we can learn about how their 2021 went. And then the report that you can actively read is from 2020. And of course, that was a very different year. So you can kind of read about how that impacted other organizations like yours. The only problem that we found with the state of grant seeking survey, or the state of grant seeking report, is that it's like 84 pages long, and you're welcome to read all of that. But the benchmarker tool was created to allow you to input your own organization's information, and then it will use the data that we got from the survey to compare your organization against the industry, which is what you would be doing anyway if you were reading through the state of grant seeking report. So I'm just going to fill out a few of these just so you can kind of get an idea. Not a lot though. Okay. See the customized report. Again, you can print this, export it, and every time you create a report, it will also end up on your dashboard, so you can save it. But so for instance, like I indicated that my organization is 6 to 10 years old and that my industry is in arts, culture, and humanities. And then this is kind of stacking it up against others in that in that same field, or like what is your staff size? What is the percentage of funding from grants? So it's a really neat tool to be able to compare your own answers against those in the same industry. But to grant, okay, I had a question. Is there any GrantStation tracking on grant proposal success? Not really. And I think they're asking about like whether folks will come back and share if they've won the grant that they found from us. And we don't really track that, mostly because just people, once they've won their grant, they're happy to move on and start using the money that they got. But really, we just want to be able to provide those tools out and provide those opportunities out there for people. A couple more things about learning here. The build strategy and write proposals section are really kind of two sides of the same coin. Of course, when you're learning about grant writing, obviously you are learning about writing grants and learning how to write proposals. And this section breaks down how to write each of the components, like the letters of inquiry and editing. You can also read grants that have won their funding before. So every other year we actually host a little competition. Well, last year it was like we had like 300 entries and like 48 judges. So it didn't seem little at the time. But so you can actually read so what people do is they've already won their grant and then they submit it to us to say, hey, we won our grant, check out our quality of grant writing. And then our 48 judges looked at our huge pool of entries and then used a grading system to give awards to the top and best examples of grant writing out of all of them. So if you want to read the guy that won it all, you can just click there and read his entire grant proposal there. But same with the 12 other runners up. They were all just excellent pieces of grant writing. So it's a good idea to learn from what worked for people. The other side of learning there is learning about grant strategy. So kind of adopting a different, a non-reactive way of strategizing your grant seeking calendar, so that you're not just, your whole strategy isn't based on when is the next application deadline, but more around, are these opportunities really relevant to me, and which ones should I pursue? So for instance, creating time is a way of, it's a tutorial for helping plan out your entire calendar year. We also have this decision matrix. This under build strategy is kind of an explanation of how to score your own leads. But recently, and I don't know if you noticed this in the dashboard, we actually added in an area for you to score your leads using our decision matrix tool in the dashboard under the specific saved opportunities, the saved grant makers. So when you click on Start Matrix, it's going to ask you some questions about that grant, like, do we meet their eligibility requirements? Is this consistent with our mission? And then, are we in the funder's geographic area? So all it is it's providing an opportunity for you to ask yourself these questions about whether this grant is going to have, what's the likelihood of you being able to win this grant, just based on a lot of different questions, like, do we even have the staff to do this, etc. So, and then as you're adding in numbers here, it's providing a total score. And okay, so here's the score that I just gave for myself. And if I had added these, all the way down, it's a good way of being able to compare different opportunities and have something else to compare them by that's not just when is the next one due, um, and have sort of a more meaningful way of comparing multiple opportunities when you may only have so many resources to complete so many proposals at once. That is, let's see, it's 10:52. Okay. There's one more reporting tool that I'd really like to show you, and I think we have time to talk about under this build strategy. And it's a new one, pretty new, like last fall, called the R3 Revenue Review and Report. And this is an area where you can, it'll provide recommendations for what to do with your portfolio based on what you indicate here. So I can run it based on a certain year. So I can run it for 2020. I can also run it for like next or this year. Oops. Okay. And then I can just indicate where is my grant revenue coming from. And I'm just going to do both of these then. And I'm not going to take too long here. Okay, and then you can run each of these separately, or you can run them both. Oh, come on. Oh, it got mad at me for that. I see. Okay, so this is the report that generated based on what I put in. So I said that I received this amount from local businesses in 2020, and it's provided me some pie charts based on the numbers that I indicated, and these can be printed here if you want to. And so under here, these are the recommendations for your portfolio. So from local businesses, the first number that I put in was for local businesses. So the first area that it's going to give me recommendations for my portfolio would be here under local businesses, and then it will continue on. But again, I like that you can kind of tailor it to what's relevant for you. Does anyone have any other questions about any of this? Because I'm just about done here. I think I'd love to answer any other questions that you have. Yeah, we covered a lot today. I hope that I didn't leave anyone in the dust. We have I was gonna share my email with you here. This is my email. Our group email for the customer service is the info@, and that'll probably get you answers faster. But if you ever have any trouble or questions, like I don't get how to use this tool, just definitely reach out, and because we do want to help you. We really don't want you to have to sink or swim using GrantStation, because we all know that there are a lot of different tools to use. So anytime that you'll reach out to us, you will get a human that will be able to walk you through using the different tools. So yeah, definitely dive in and let us know how you're doing with it, and if you have questions as you're using it.
Okay. Great. Oh, somebody just said this was extremely helpful, and thank you in the chat.
Good. Okay, awesome.
And I just put in the chat a link to an evaluation on today's program. So if everyone would take a few minutes to complete that, I'd greatly appreciate that. Your responses to our evaluations help us in improving our programs and services that we provide to our members and the nonprofit sector as a whole in Delaware. And I want to thank everyone for being here today, and everyone today who is a member that was with us today. Thank you for being members. And there was a question, I'm sorry, is there a subscription link through our Dana dashboard? I have a big recollection that Dana members get a discount on GS. I am not sure. I'm new to Dana, so I will check on that, Jamie, and see. I'm not sure about that. So I will check on that and let you know. Again, before we close out, if anybody, okay, somebody here knows. Thank you, Janet.
Yeah,
Members do get a
I'll
discount.
chime in. I'll chime in too. It just that, you know, as partners, you all are getting access to our best price for GrantStation, which is $95. Our regular price is $6.99. And you know, we do run sales from time to time, like around holidays, but they're never going to be as low as it is through our partner Dana. So we're glad to be able to make that membership more accessible for the nonprofit community.
Great. Thank you, Julia.
And
thank
Dana,
you, Janet.
Dana should have it should be a URL somewhere inside your website.
Sure.
But I haven't seen it myself. But you'll be able to send it to them.
Mm. And I will be sending, I know not everybody has time today to do the evaluation, so I will send that out tomorrow, and I will send out the link to where you can find information regarding our GrantStation discount on our website as well with that.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for having me.
Oh, thank you, Julia. Thank you all for being here today. Just real quickly, any other questions before we end today's session?
Welcome to Dana, Abby.
Oh, thank you so much. I'm in my second month, so a lot to learn still. Learned a lot and still learning. All right. Well, thank you again. Thank you, Julia. Thank you all for participating. Again, thank you to all our members, and have a wonderful day.
Great. Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.